Hey there, Mark the Bearded Tech Skiing here, and I'm here in Melbourne and I'm talking to Craig Scott, the CTO of Viewsonic worldwide?
Correct.
Worldwide. Craig, thanks for coming and joining us, and thanks for having us down here in Melbourne.
My pleasure, Mark.
And so I'm just having a quick chat to Craig about the Viewsonic value proposition, why I, under the big picture banner, endorse Viewsonic. And Craig, one thing I really want to ask you is there's a bucket load of panels on the market, right? And I've just been to ISE, and you can walk into a hall and there's 50 vendors all selling panels. But so it's really hard to differentiate one to the next. But what I think Viewsonic's got is a really good value proposition that's different. Can you sort of explain why you think you're different as Viewsonic?
Okay, so at Viewsonic, our logo, our messaging is actually see the difference. So you have to really think about what gives the value to the solution.
Yeah.
And while we have hardware panels and you can touch them and you can feel them and you can see them, at the end of the day, software actually adds the value proposition and use case. So use case is defined by customers. Customers want to do things.
Yeah.
So you have to listen very carefully to what the customers have to do, and then you really need to develop software that actually encompasses the solution and the use case so that the customer feels very comfortable with the technology.
Yeah.
If you look at an iPhone or look at a compute engine, people actually use an operating system with applications that adds the value. The hardware, is basically a carrier for that particular application stack.
Yeah.
So we're really focusing on the software, the UI, the UX, the use case, the experience, and making sure the customer can actually achieve their outcomes they look for rather than technology for technology's sake. Right.
And so on that, you were mentioning earlier today that you've had a fairly decent investment into that technology, that software investment.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as a company, 3 years ago, we had 0 software developers. We're now at about 100 people developing software and delivering our software stack. Yeah. We're also spending over 50% of our R&D investment actually in software engineering. So while we are a hardware company, we have a great hardware platform in terms of LCD, projector, large format display, and IFP. We're really adding the value proposition through more and more software development.
Yeah,
and that's going to be a continuous investment over time.
Yeah, okay. And so to do that, you've also built quite a strong partner network around that?
Yeah, so we work with Intel. We're a part of the Intel Market Ready Solution Program where we were voted one of the best actually in the world. We're also a Google education partner. We're also a Microsoft education partner.
Wow.
So we're really looking at the ecosystem and saying it's not just about Viewsonic, it's about Google, it's about Microsoft, it's about Intel. And we're really trying to work with third parties. We have companies like Boclips, the video aggregation for education, which we're actually loading onto our platform. So we believe it's not just about Viewsonic, it's about working with all the other players that are in our ecosystem to deliver the total solution.
Yeah, okay. And so people who, like my clients are education, K-12, and they've all got a Microsoft, typically, 365 environment. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we have clients that sort of struggle to understand is that shift. What's the value proposition of going to, say, My Viewboard, which is your software solution, instead of, say, Microsoft OneNote? Is there a real clear definition as to why?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, OneNote is a great product, don't get me wrong. Google Slides is a great product, but they're a use case for everybody. So that product's built like a generic tool. It does a lot of things for a lot of people, and it does them simply well. However, when you go and say the teaching environment or education environment, you need a bit more rich content. You need probably tools that actually work with different ecosystems and different ways of getting media in, information in. Maybe even different pedagogies in terms of the teaching environment. So yes, we've got some baseline tools from, say, Microsoft or from Google. However, in a teaching environment, we really have a bespoke application. So we've developed My Viewboard for specifically digital whiteboarding. So we're not about an Office suite or a 365 suite or Excel or Word or PowerPoint. We're really about making sure we have the best digital whiteboard platform. And on top of that, we overlay the digital platform for education or for corporate or business or brainstorming or creativity in terms of what we're doing. So we're really focused more on the use case rather than just a generic tool.
Yeah, you don't see them as opposition either, though, do you? You see them as the partner. Back to that. How do we play nice?
Yeah, we want to work nicely with them. So we're really studying their technology, looking at what they're doing, and then we're incorporating some of those things. A great example would be the immersive reader from Microsoft.
Great tool.
We saw the immersive reader, we jumped on it, about 4 weeks later we had it into production because we thought it was a great piece of technology that could enhance our platform, and it turns out it was a big hit. So the AI pen is actually a Google tool where we actually looked at the Google AI engine and we actually adopted that and actually put it onto as our AI pen. So we take technologies from different places where it makes sense and we incorporate them and just wrap them in a way that makes sense for that particular use case.
Yeah. So one of your big spins, and I can attest to this, is that you've got great agility to be able to spin, and as what did you say today, duck and weave almost to the market, as it's called.
Yep.
And probably nothing better than right now. We're in COVID-19, coronavirus, and you've got some cool stuff going on, which I probably can't say. But yeah, there's a whole lot to watch this space.
Yeah, definitely. Well, necessity is the mother of all invention, right?
Yeah.
So when the world is in a situation right now, there's a lot of invention going, a lot of creativity to solve problems that are emerging very quickly.
To do that.
And it's a very dynamic, changing environment.
Yeah.
So we're learning a lot of things about education, for example. The concept that the world might shut schools down is actually a real problem.
Yeah.
And I think we've never in our lifetime dealt with such a problem of such magnitude.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of movement in terms of, okay, how do we solve this problem? What do we do? What's a possible alternative? And people rushing in with different solutions. So we have to look at this and say, okay, there's an opportunity to obviously learn and maybe develop some things that actually are better suited to the problem we're trying to solve today.
Sure, yeah, and then so that brings like virtual learning, distance learning, all that stuff to the fore, doesn't it? Really?
Definitely.
And I've had this sort of bit of an ethos in the last couple of weeks where I was sort of thinking about it, going, some of this might not ever actually deploy. Like schools will, like I've got clients of mine right now, they've got to have a solution by, say, this Friday to put to the board, just in case, in the what if factor. But some of these might not actually deploy because the cost of deploying might be too high. They might have to deploy it if they get to that point, but something, and that probably comes back to the agility of Viewsonic, is the ability to be able to be agile and then just deploy and build solutions around that. But one thing I don't ever find with Viewsonic is it's never a massive cost to deploy, because you guys are building so much cool software back end that it's like, okay, cool, we've now got this solution, and away we go.
So great design really doesn't cost more money. It actually means you have to think a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of product is developed and oscillated in isolation from the market.
Yeah.
So you build something based on an engineering spec.
Yeah.
You make an assumption that someone wants to buy something, and then you ship it, and then you test and find out. Well, let's reverse that model and say, why don't we just involve the customer first before we do anything?
Yeah.
Listen closely to what they have to say, identify their problems, their pain points, translate that into requirements, and push that back into the development process. Yeah. So if you reverse the process, it doesn't actually have to cost more.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing you do really well, right? Is you listen to the customer without arrogance or without ego, and go, okay, here's the problem, here's the solution. Just pose the problem, and we'll see if we can come up with a solution.
Yeah. Exactly. We believe that every problem that presents itself is an opportunity to learn. And some of the problems we solve, maybe they're not so worthwhile. Yeah. But then some problems are very worthwhile. But you can't pick and choose what is worthwhile until you actually solve the problem.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head today. Is you treat that as a gift. Yeah, as what do you call it? The gift box or the?
It's a gift of feedback.
Yeah.
So we love gifts of feedback because we have to explore that feedback and say, okay, is that a viable thing that we can do or not, or is that a great problem to solve or not so great problem? Yeah. However, interestingly enough, you don't know whether a problem is good enough until you solve it. And when you solve it, you will learn and you discover. And really, innovation is about discovering things and exploring things. It's not sitting back and saying, okay, I'm going to build this amazing product. It's really about discovering and exploring existing problems and then working out how to solve them.
I'm glad you hit on that, because it's like your ethos, you were saying earlier today, is around learning, and we're all about, like, how do we teach our kids to be smarter? But do we need to teach them to be smarter? Do we just need to teach them how to solve problems? Like, we just get it together and go, let's put our heads together and work this out, like, in an amicable way, using technology, rather than just go, let's just make them smarter. Does that solve anything?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So one of the things you can think about is like the concept of the sage on the stage versus the guide on the side.
Yeah.
So traditional teaching and education has really been about the sage on the stage. We get up, we talk, the student listens, they do a test, they have an outcome. Yeah. And we're sort of moving more to the sage, from the sage on the stage to the guide on the side model, where the teacher steps back a little bit, encourages the kids to be creative, problem solve as groups.
Student-based learning,
Student-based learning, and even student-led learning, where the students are actually leading the learning process, and the teacher is literally guiding the student through that process and sort of correcting when they need a little correction to push them in the right direction. Yeah. So really, we have to think about the guide on the side model versus the sage on the stage.
Which sort of encompasses all the learning, collaborative learning, the student-led learning, flipped learning to some degree. It just sort of brings it all together at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have multiple pedagogies, right? We really haven't thought about past the pedagogy. The higher order strategy is really the guide on the side.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Mate, so your strategy going forward as Viewsonic is really you've got to sell hardware. Everyone's got to, we've got to make a few bucks to fund the next level of investment. But software that's your key message. Software's there is that digital learning, and all our technology going forward for everybody, not just Viewsonic, right? It's really going to be software based.
Definitely.
That's the sort of key message here, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Software plays an increasingly bigger role in the outcomes that we do.
Yeah, and the better we can support that, the better to the outcomes of the kids.
Definitely.
Yeah. Craig, thanks for joining us. We're not going to handshake. We're going to do this
Corona bump.
Thanks,
Mark.
thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you.
See you guys next time. Check us out. Bye for now.